2-1.
Mr. Prime Time, this is going to be my favorite video to talk about the position that I'm most worried about, and that is the wide receivers for the New York Jets. And we'll start out with they entered this offseason with a lot of needs. They addressed it to the best of their ability, but I have legitimate concerns. And I'll start with Perriman replacing Robby Anderson. And, we talked about this for months where Perriman had a good five games and an air-out offense in Tampa, which is really, really pass-friendly. That offense will not be here in New York. So he's going to have limited opportunities. Can he be a go-to guy for Sam Darnold? Can he get open when the going gets tough? Can he be a consistent pass catcher? What can he bring to this offense?
Perriman is the biggest X factor in this wide receiving group. We talked about the kind of impact that Herndon can have, on the entire offense, in the last video. I think Perriman can have a similar impact on the other receivers and the entire offense if he can be close to what he was in those last 5 games with Tampa. I'm not expecting that because the Jets offense, like you said, it doesn't operate that way. Where they had Jameis Winston going back there passing 40 times a game. You're not going to see Sam Darnold doing that. At least I hope not, because you're going to get him killed. But I think Perriman, if he can give you, just the deep threat, the ability to stretch the field a little bit, keep the safeties out of the box, just that alone, I think will allow for Denzel Mims to make some plays, will allow Crowder and Herndon to do their thing over the middle, and it'll allow Le'Veon Bell hopefully to be the featured guy of this offense. So yeah, if Perriman gives you nothing, like kind of what he did his first 4 years in the league, that would be brutal, because then the opposing defense, who are they focused on? Probably Denzel Mims. That becomes like your number one wideout. So they take him out of the equation because he's probably not going to be ready to beat a number one corner or be the focal point of any offense. So if it's not Perriman, if it's not Mims, who's your go-to guy? You don't really have one, and that becomes a huge issue.
See, to me, if I'm an opposing defense, there's like 3 guys I'm going to worry about. And we're talking just wide receivers. It's going to be Crowder over the middle on the slot. Like I'm gonna get him. I'm going to watch out for Le'Veon Bell in the backfield and Chris Herndon. And everybody else, I'm going to be like, I dare you to beat me. Like, I'm going to go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, that's the problem, though, when all 3 of those guys are all guys that are mostly over the middle within 10 yards that you have to worry about. So that's where Perriman and even Mims, these guys all have 4.3 speed. We can even talk about some other guys, Lawrence Cager, George Campbell, Vyncint Smith. All these guys have sub 4.4 speed. If you have that kind of speed in your wide receiving group, there's no reason why you can't have guys running some go routes to keep your safeties honest and allow Bell, Herndon, and Crowder to do their thing over the middle. That has to be kind of how this offense operates, I would think.
Yeah, because you think about it, like I said, I would the first guy I look out for is Crowder. You stop him and make Sam go to other reads. And then it's like I would press both Mims, especially Mims. I would press the shit out of him and say, beat me in man coverage. Like I want to see you beat me in man coverage, something he didn't see a lot in college. Yep. So like if Sam looks at that side, okay, he's covered. It's not the Perriman, the same thing. Listen, you may have world-class speed, but if I'm physical with you at the line of scrimmage and you can't break it or you can't get free, you can't get open, then that's a challenge. So to me, that's, Perriman, listen, speed is great. Athleticism is great. You got to get open and you got to make plays and you got to help your quarterback. So to me, I'm not as confident as other people are. Like, I guess Joe Douglas knows him from the past, so we got to give him the benefit of the doubt there. I would have preferred to bring Robby Anderson back, but that ship has sailed. So then, Perriman, we hope. That's kind of like a hope. Crowder, I think we can pretty much say is a consistent, very good receiver in the slot. He can be good for, 70, 80 catches this year if everything goes right. He's reliable, right? I mean, you would agree that if he can stay healthy, he's there. So then you go to the other side, and that's Mims, which, our other video we talked about where the expectations for him already are off the charts, which is not realistic. I would temper them. I'd say if you can get him 45 catches this year, wonderful, because he's got a lot to learn in a limited amount of time. And it's just rookie receivers, especially in this climate, are going to be challenged, man. So, I think you try to get him comfortable. You can try to feature him at times and find routes that he enjoys running that he can do very well. But the full route tree, who knows? But, then it's like, okay, if you have Perriman's kind of a maybe, hopefully, Crowder's your reliable. Mims is a, hopeful. What is your 4th option? What is your 5th option? Are you going to count on a guy like, Vyncint Smith? Is that the guy, or Berrios or Doxson, or are we going back to saying, okay, listen, we're going to have our 3 receivers and we have to count on Herndon because we're not confident in our receivers?
I think all of that to some extent. I think Berrios, Vyncint Smith, Dotson, all those guys, even some of the undrafted kids, Lawrence Cager, George Campbell, I think all those guys are going to have an opportunity. But I think you still have to bring in another veteran. I know I mentioned Demaryius Thomas. You hate that name, but at least he's been with Gase and he was with Darnold in the offense last year, or even a Taylor Gabriel, somebody that you prefer. Somebody they have to bring in somebody, I think, because if one of the top three goes down, you're fucked.
If Crowder goes down, dude, you're in deep shit.
Yeah, Berrios could be effective in the slot. That's the thing. Like, I think Berrios could actually be somewhat effective in the slot. I just wouldn't want him on the outside. So, if Crowder does go down, I think you could fill Berrios in there and he would be okay. But you can't have Berrios on the outside. And the question still remains, who are your outside wide receivers? Who's going to step up there? Hopefully you get a little bit of production out of Mims. I don't think that's unrealistic to expect that. I think he can have a role where he catches 40 to 45 balls this year. And that would be okay. It's just, what do you get opposite him? Can Perriman fill those shoes? Can he do what close to what he did those last 5 games? Can he be that deep threat? I don't even think he has to be that number one option or that go-to guy. Just be a decoy and allow some of the other weapons to kind of get freed up underneath.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, my personal opinion is I'm hoping they go run first for a while and get the running game going, and then you can get, you can do play action pass and give these guys, you can use the speed. You give them more time to get open and everything else. But if they don't, if I'm an opposing defense, I'm stacking the box. I'm like, you know what? My number one goal is stop Le'Veon Bell and put pressure on Sam Darnold. And then if these guys can't get open, start teeing off on them. So to me, it goes back to the play calling a little bit too, which, listen, like, if Sam is getting hit, put him back in the shotgun and roll him out and do things with him. Like, you got to, I think Sam has the ability to make these guys better. And he can make throws that get kind of almost, you hear that, throw somebody open. I think he can actually do that if they can get open. But I think with this wide receiver group and the unknown of their talent and their abilities, I think Adam Gase has to scheme better and scheme them open in certain situations to maximize their talent.
And not just that, he has to do it early, because we keep talking about like coming out and establishing a ground and pound. You can't do that if an opposing defense has 8 in the box and they're looking for it. They need game 1, first quarter, they need to be able to stretch the field and have Sam make a few big throws, and that will allow things to open up where you can start the ground and pound and really feature Bell and Herndon and Crowder and those guys underneath. To try and come out and just run the ball first down, 1st and 10, 2nd and 10. Like, we saw how that worked last year. It doesn't work. Teams
run, 3rd and long punt.
Exactly, and that's how you get your quarterback killed. So, I think it's going to be important if we want to come out and establish the run, that we set things up that Sam can make a few big plays early to back the defense up and give him some cushion to make that happen.
Yeah, we've been evaluating like the positions, throughout this whole training camp series thing, and it's like, listen, tight ends we feel comfortable with, running backs we feel comfortable with for the most part. You can make an argument to maybe sign another veteran if you wanted to, if you're not really confident in Frank Gore. But then it's like,
another veteran.
I mean, would you rather have Frank Gore or Devontae Freeman? I mean, I'm not gonna say what I want, but I'm saying,
what did you draft Perriman for? Another veteran?
I'm saying, but I mean, overall, I think that you feel comfortable at running back, you feel comfortable at tight end. The offensive line, which we'll talk about whenever day, it's improved. To me, the wide receiver group is the biggest question mark, and it bothers me because I had the most hope going into the offseason to see it upgraded, and you don't get that warm and fuzzy feeling right now. Like, I hate when your assessment starts with if. It's annoying. Like, if this happens, we have decent receivers. That sucks, man.
I'll play the optimist here, because when we got Sanchez, and again, this is something we'll talk a little bit more about tomorrow night with some of those old teams, but the wide receivers were kind of the last piece of that puzzle that we were trying to fill, along with still a pass rusher. They had the offensive line already set. They had signed guys.
They ran the ball exclusively, though. Adam Gase has never done that.
Yeah, but again, I'm just saying, like, in terms of like the entire roster, they had an offensive line, with Damian Woody, Alan Faneca. They already had, Mangold and DeBrickashaw. The offensive line was set. You had just drafted Dustin Keller. The wide receivers were kind of the last thing. Sanchez's rookie year, they entered that with, I think, Chancey Stuckey as one of the starting wide receivers. So, midway through the year, you traded for Braylon, and then they got Santonio the year after. So, at this point, yeah, you kind of look at it and you're like, all right, Sam is in his 3rd year. He should have those weapons already. But this is also Joe Douglas's first, real offseason. And the offensive line wasn't even close to what some of those other teams were. So that's where the priority, I think, had to be. So they addressed the offensive line. That was the priority this year. We still got a receiver in the 2nd round, which I was happy about. We all wanted 2. But I think next year, that's where you're going to look at a first-round pick getting Sam, that true number 1.
Yeah, and that's kind of what bothers me a little bit, where it's like we keep delaying the process one more year, where it's like that's where instead of taking James Morgan this year, I was looking at a wide receiver to kind of figured out like get as many wide receivers you can as possible to just try to get guys to build with for the future. Like, right now, Crowder's got one more year after this year on his contract. He's getting a little bit older. Perriman is a 1-year contract, so if he does good, you got to find a way to resign him. If not, he could be gone. And then you could be entering next year with, okay, now we got it. We have Mims, who's going to be year 2, hopefully getting better. Crowder, who's on the end of his career, and then we got to find another one. It's like you kind of wish you had this young core. So then it's like the big selling point everybody keeps giving me is Vyncint Smith. Like he's the guy. He's explosive. I mean, he had some great end arounds last year. He had some nice catches, but like to me, to say a guy is proven is he's got to catch 40 or 50 passes, man. To catch 20 passes to me is nothing. Okay, you're a role player that did something, but we got to get like legitimate contributors now.
No, and again, I think all those guys this year, assuming, Sam is healthy for 16 games, I think a lot of those guys are going to have some opportunities, whether it's Vyncint Smith, whoever performs the best in training camp, between him, Berrios, I think Lawrence Cager, I think he really has some potential, huge target, 6'4", 4'3" speed. Let these guys play and see if you do have, a diamond in the rough that can be a part of your future with Mims going forward. Because if you have 2 guys along with Crowder still here for another year or 2, you're pretty much a wide receiver away from your offense almost being set. I know it's like a lot of ifs. We keep saying if Becton's this and, if Mims does this, but you can make an argument that if those things happen, which I don't think it's crazy to suggest, you invested a 1st and 2nd round pick in those guys. If those things happen, your offense is pretty damn close.
So to me, I have more confidence in Sam than I do the receivers. I just feel that Sam can get them the ball in positions to make them do okay.
Yeah.
But what is your realistic expectation for Perriman this year?
Again, I'm not expecting him to be a number 1. I'm not expecting him to be a go-to guy. If he can, again, just stretch the field a little bit, a few deep balls a game, be a decoy to allow other guys to succeed, I would be happy with that. I don't expect him to, sign a 2nd contract with the Jets. I don't think he's going to live up to the $9 million.
So 55
that they're paying
catches,
him.
60 catches, 800 yards.
I'm not even expecting that many, to be honest.
Really?
I think he's going to be a guy that has like 16, 17 yards per catch, but, a low number of catches, like 40, 45 catches. I think that's going to be kind of where he is.
So then your receiving leaders will be who? You figure Crowder is going to have like 70 or 80?
Crowder, I think, is going to have above 80. I think he's going to be their go-to guy. I think Herndon will probably be there like around 60. And I think you'll have Mims and Perriman probably both in that 40 range.
And you probably have Le'Veon Bell probably, 45 or something like that?
I think Bell could be upwards of 60. Actually, I think he had 1 year with Pittsburgh where he was close to 80, right?
Yeah. I mean,
you
got to figure Frank Gore's catch a lot of passes too. You got Frank Gore and Perriman and stuff, so you got to give those out. So
fucking unbelievable.
So, I mean, you look at it like I said, to me, if you have like the biggest stories of training camp and the area is concerned, my 2 concerns would be the offensive line gelling as fast as possible, and then it's going to be like the receivers. What can they bring to the table? How fast will it take to acclimate? How do they get them in there? And if, God forbid, like we said, if Crowder, even Perriman gets banged up, what do you do? Because then it's like Mims has so much to learn, dude. So you can't really rely on him as a route runner. Also, you figure the first 6 games, he's probably going to be in shell shock. Like, what in the hell's going on here? So,
Well, again, just going back to, the Braylon trade, let's see how this year starts out. Because if everything else, around the team looks good, the offensive line looks good, Sam's playing well, and we realize that, oh, shit, we're maybe just a wide receiver away from actually, contending this year, there might be options at the trade deadline. A guy like A.J. Green, who's on the last year of his deal, making $18 million this year. If the Bengals aren't in it, they might try to deal him. You can get somebody like that. It still pisses me off we weren't in the Hopkins sweepstakes for a 2nd-round pick. That would have been amazing, but – yeah, I think there's going to be some options, whether it's, just signing somebody like we talked about with, Gabriel or, making a trade with a mid-round pick. I think they'll still have some options to bring in somebody else if needed.
So, and then the other thing you mentioned some of these younger guys where, and this has been my mantra the whole time, and I could be completely wrong for all I know, but a guy like Cager or Campbell or any of these young guys, how many legitimate chances are they going to have to make this team with no preseason games? That to me, that's tough, dude.
I think you have to give them every opportunity. I mean,
but if you have no preseason games, it's going to be just. I mean, how many live practices are they going to have where you can go 1-on-1 and make the team? Like, I don't know. Like, I'm so fascinated how this is all going to work out.
Again, if you're not going to have those preseason games, that just puts all the more emphasis on your actual practices and who shows up each day. And if these guys are performing and Sam's hitting them on plays and they're getting open, they're beating corners, why wouldn't they make the team? You need receivers. You don't really have any established guys going forward. So anybody that steps up, I would think you'd have to give a roster spot. I feel like it should be an open competition pretty much from 4 through 6, or if you keep 7 wideouts this year with the extra roster spot, it should be an open competition for those spots. Whoever performs the best, you earned it.
This is where I kind of have hope with Joe Douglas, where he is, just a personnel, guru, where he's like, he knows what's out there, who's out there. If other teams are in the same boat where they have, say, 5 veteran guys, I'm like, we're not keeping this young kid because we're going to go with the old reliable. Maybe he can swoop in and get some of these guys, pick up some of these young talent out there.
Well, see, that would kind of piss me off. Like, not that he shouldn't be looking for that, but isn't that what Berrios was supposed to be, why we brought him and kept him here for a year? Right? Patriots wanted to keep him on the practice squad. They viewed him as a piece going forward. We stole him. We kept him here for a year. So this was a Douglas guy. So he should be expected to do something this year. Same thing with Vyncint Smith. Like, these are all guys that Joe Douglas brought in. So, they've been here for a year now. They know Gase. They know Darnold. They know the system. They should be able to contribute.
Yeah, I'm hoping he keeps very active with this position group. Like, I
don't want them to keep shuffling guys in and out, because I feel like that's something we've done so often, like over the past decade, like where you bring a guy in, he's here for 2 weeks, and then you cut him, you bring somebody else in because they were with a team that you might be playing in a couple of weeks. Like, you're just constantly shuffling
that
guys.
Shit I don't like.
Yeah, but even to a larger extent, I just feel like we're always bringing guys in and out, and we're not allowing some of these younger guys to actually stay for a year on the practice squad, learn the offense, get opportunities, and doing it that way.
No, fair enough. I mean, listen, I'm talking more if you have a guy that you highly value, say, listen, whatever. Just say Sammy Watkins, he signed a new contract in Kansas City. If he shakes free because something happens, listen, dude, take him. Like, you want to get guys that get beer for a few that are just legitimate receivers that if you could upgrade talent. You know what I mean? I'm kind of hoping that he has an eye. Like, listen, I know that this position is not secure by no means. There's question marks that we all see.
Any veteran or any guy that's proven, I think, would make a lot of sense. Having the depth, in case somebody gets hurt, I think that makes a lot of sense. I just feel like for the lower end guys to keep shuffling them in and out, bringing in new guys to learn the system. By the time you learn the system, then it doesn't make sense, I feel like.
No, I agree. And then, like I said, if we had to look at how the passing game, where it goes through, to me, it's going to be, until proven otherwise, it'll be Crowder, Herndon, Bell. And like you said, you got to hope that you stretch the field with, you get a big hit to Perriman. But you could see Perriman have these games where it's 3 catches, 87 yards. Yep. You know what I mean? Like those kind of games.
Again, that's why I don't see him being a guy that's going to catch 60 passes this year. I feel like he'll be 40 to 50, but he'll approach maybe 800-900 yards, on some big catches, and allow other guys to kind of, get the underneath yardage and stuff.
Yeah, he's kind of like the three catches, 75 yards. Mims would be 4 catches, 40 yards. Like
the new Dedrick Ward.
Yeah. Remember him?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
He was smaller, but it's same kind of thing. It's just so it's been interesting. I think that's kind of the storyline to watch in training camp. It's just who takes advantage of the practice reps. All these young guys. Maybe Vyncint Smith does come out of nowhere and proves us all wrong. I mean, I have no idea. It's been interesting, man. I would just hope they sign somebody.
I'm somewhat down on it, but I'm also somewhat optimistic. When you have so many guys with 6'3", 6'4", 4'3" speed, that should be an opportunity to allow some other guys to make plays. Just that straight speed,
and also
go routes,
the red zone. You have all kinds of threats there.
Yep, and that's where Mims, I think, right away should be effective. Inside the 20s, he's a guy that can go up and make those contested catches. I think that's where he could be most effective. Might not be inside, in between the 20s, but in the red zone, he could be a big target for you there.
Yeah, so definitely that's something to definitely watch. The training camp battles, see who shakes out, and then keep your eye on the waiver wire too to see what they can do.
Yep.
So
we'll
see what happens, man.
All right, good talking.